this Christmas card was made with this technique that we're talking about today with colored pencils. Virginia wanted to do this card. And I said, well, people need warning so they can get colored pencils and they can get stuff. And I think I wrote that you can do parallel scratches by pinking your credit card. Yeah, pinking credit cards. The other thing that I used for small scratches is a plastic knife.
Oh,
you know,
that's stuff
like you get.
They keep giving you that when you buy takeout.
Yeah.
They always give it to you whether you want it or not.
Whether you want it or not, but you can use it for art. But there's just so many you need. You don't need 47.
Yeah, the other thing I've done is I took the top off some raspberries. I think you see from there. That's actually, it's fairly sturdy, but you've got a fairly long number of zigzags there. So
a long pinking.
Yes, and I have candle. Will that work?
You have candle should work. And that looks like a nice candle because birthday candles fall apart.
This is just
sturdy. Yeah, that's sort of sturdy.
Okay.
I have also used a long candle, and that works, but it's bulky. So I think your candle is probably very good. The things that I've done with this technique is this, and I can't find the original. This is a print, and this is a friend's photograph. This part, and then this part I added because the river where he took the picture of the hippopotamuses, it just had bushes. It was boring, so there was just bushes and a sky. So I did that, and then I did this afterwards. And this is male and female. No, not male and female. What is it? It is the sun, the moon.
Night and day.
The sun. She made the earth and seas and everything, every living thing. And without her, nothing was made. Watercolor and pencil. So you can look at it with the night up, or you can look at it the other way around. It's the same thing. So those are the historic ones. These are the recent ones because I thought to myself, I said, I better do something with this technique because I haven't done it. I don't know. When did we do that? Like 2 years ago, I think. You remember, Lynn or Erin?
It was before my time.
Before my time. So
yeah, 2 years, at least 2 years. So the first one I did was this, which is not very interesting, but it's the idea, And then I did this with the knife, with the little knife, and it's got very small scratches. Mm-hmm. And I did this on top of a thing that I had done with plastic wrap, with cling film, and tried to follow the courses of the pattern that the plastic wrap left. And so it just came out like this. And then I thought afterwards, this would be cool to do something like water lilies at Giverny or something, some kind of takeoff on that because it has this background. And then, you would do water lilies like with goop or something and then take it off and do the water lilies. But this would be the background. And then this, I got clever. I said, I'm going to try doing it with the metallic paint underneath.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's what this is.
Oh, nice.
So you can see the little bit of shine. And then this was supposed to be like, which I don't think worked at all. But the shine does come through on the scratches.
Yeah.
And especially in the and so that's what I'm going to teach. The other thing I did at the last minute, because the problem is you need the watercolor to be completely dry before you put the pencils on. But then I said, well, maybe you can make scratches without doing the watercolor first. So I did this, half of this. And it's not great art. It's just trying to see if the scratches work when you do it without putting watercolor on first. You do have to have a sketch because you don't know where the scratches are because there's no color.
I do, yeah.
So in spots, I have put my colored pencils over the line because I didn't know where the end was. So I think that we can do that kind of thing and the watercolor thing. Mm-hmm. And so what I would suggest is that you get yourself 2 pieces of paper, and they can be little. I'm going to use this, and I'm basically going to do this on the bigger piece of paper, this sunset. Because things need to dry, I thought I would, before I ask people to share stuff, I thought I would paint the background, the undercoat, do the watercolor so that it can dry And it doesn't need to be really dry to do the scratches. It does need to be dry to do the pencil. So I'm sketching in my mountains very roughly, and then I'm making a circle for the center of my sunset. And actually, I don't need much more than that. I'm not going to do a lake. I'm very frustrated with water. And I only need the tops of the mountains because I'll do my scratches at will, so to speak. And now let's make that a little neater. Can you see the sketch?
No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I can.
Oh, okay. Now I can. Thank you.
That's
All right.
that's as much as I'm sketching.
Uh-huh.
I'm not doing much more than that. And now I'm going to erase some of it because I always do circles. And actually, the guy that taught the workshop that this comes from said, this is what you should get up when you get up in the morning. Of course, he's a professional artist, so he paints every day. He says, just do a whole bunch of circles just to get your hand in, and that, and after a while, you'll get really good at drawing circles, and it's a good exercise. And so now I'm blotting it with my eraser because that takes up most of the graphite, because I just need to know roughly where things are. Because the part of this that is watercolor is actually pretty slobbery. You don't have to worry about it because you're going to cover it with colored pencil. So I'm taking my fancy pearlized white and I'm going around the same way. And I think I want to go probably right to the edge and probably even onto my mountains, because they shine too, because they're mountains. Lynn always says, purple mountains, majesty.
Yes.
So there's my mountains, and my sun, my setting sun, has all that pearlized white. Oh yes, you can see it. You can see it. And now I'm going to do sort of my undercoat for, my eraser's stuck on it. My undercoat for the plains, which I'm going to do in a yellow because it's going to be largely greens and yellows. Because I'm not going to try and do the lake. This was supposed to be a lake, and it doesn't look like a lake. Even though I have the sun reflected in it, it still sort of doesn't look like a lake. And I think it's because it doesn't have edges. But I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to trash the lake. So I'm going to use a yellow, and I'm not actually going to use my favorite yellow. I'm going to use yellow ochre. And start just below my mountains and sort of in my mountains. Oops. I go naturally to the gamboge, but I'm liking yellow ochre for this. Now I have actually made scratches right from here, but I'm not going to do that here. And I'm going to put a little bit of blue around the outside edges, the outside top edges, mostly to remind me that that's what it's supposed to be there. And I have some blue with a little bit of red mixed, which is coming out gray, which is okay because it's night coming down. And I'm going to put a little bit of pink in my mountain. That's not pink. Just so I don't lose them. And it can slobber into the yellow. Because this is very light, because this is what's going to show through your scratches. And hopefully this will keep the iridescence. Maybe I should have done it the other way. Maybe I can still do it the other way. I think I'm going to put some more iridescent on top. Yeah, that mixes. Oh, it mixes nicely. I have totally gone off the other metallics. And I did that when I discovered that I could mix regular colors with the metallics, which makes it fun. Okay, now this can go and sit for a bit, and it doesn't have to sit for very long. It has to sit. I've done it right when it's wet like this, but it's best when, you know, it's like 5 minutes out or 10 minutes out, because then the paper is still soft, but it doesn't fall apart when you scratch it. if you try to scratch it when it's really wet, the paper might shred, and you don't want it to shred. The lines are pushed in to soft paper. Okay, so here we are. This is still, it's still cold, but it's not, so it's damp, but it's not smeary. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Okay, so now I'm gonna take my credit card and my pinked credit card, and I'm gonna go all the way around my circle to make the circles around the sun. And I'm not gonna worry too much about it being, sometimes I think, oh, it's supposed to be a complete circle. Sometimes I worry about it and sometimes I don't. This time I'm not worrying about it. And then I'm going to make another circle. Or if you have a large piece of credit card that you're using. And then I'm going to go around again and stop at the mountains and go around again and stop at the mountain on the other side. Oh, no, it goes around. So I'm going to keep doing that till I get the whole thing circled. And of course, if you have a big piece of credit card, you can do it all at once. But I find that hard to manage. Now, I want to do these kind of lines to do the edge. Now I could just take the edge of this and do it. I don't even actually need another credit card, but I usually, and I do some layers, even though I only have, you know, the way mountains fold. So like this is the outside one. And then I'm going to take a peak from there and go down, and I'm going to have another one come up and go down and another one cross that. And then one in back of them all. So I'm building up some complex hilly structures. Now what I like is taking the little knife then and making some striations on my mountains. So just starting at the first thing and then just making a little just a little, which is sort of like shading. You don't have to do it everywhere. So now, what do I want in the foreground? On this, I had the lake. I don't want the lake. Oh, I see. I just did some back and forthing with both the big one and the little one. So I'll do the same thing here. And one hopes that one gets better, but it's not necessarily true. Sometimes the early ones are the better ones. And I think that that's because you're sort of more interested. But of course, this one I'm doing on camera, so that preserves some of the tension. And I'm doing some swooping because I don't know whether I mentioned it or I just put it on the website. One of the photographs, you know, the California hills, which that are all yellow, and they get progressively lighter as they go off into the horizon. So that was part of my thinking here. And then I'm going to do some little things coming up because I'm going to do some little grass things in the front.
Could I ask, do those scratches you make persist in the paper, or does it kind of relax back to being flat over time?
That's what all these circles are.
Yeah.
They're the dents in the paper.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you went away for a day, would those dents still be there?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's now destroyed the paper.
Oh, okay.
In other words, it's a form of paper destruction. But because we're using a fairly soft plastic tool, it doesn't cut through. Now, sometimes you do, you know, you do something dumb or I do something dumb. And I bought myself, when I took the workshop, the guy had a tool that is now no longer exists to make scratches. So I went through all kinds of things and I bought this thing. And this is really sharp. You could kill someone with this. But, and I filed it down and filed it down and filed it down, but it still tends to destroy paper. So I don't use it much. And it costs me money, and credit cards don't. Same thing with this. I think it's a clay thing. But what I did, so I use that for small scratches.
Mhm.
And then I use this, you know, for this kind of thing. But it had a tendency, if you push hard, to actually break the paper. What you want to do is you want to push the skin of the paper down. You want to compress the paper. You're not breaking the skin of the paper.
So yes, I'm just trying to get the idea of how hard to push on that credit card, you know.
Not very. If you can feel the dents, that's all you need to do.
Feel it with your fingers?
Yeah. And of course, you'll make a mistake. Now, I'm suggesting that we also do it on a piece of paper that hasn't been
Oh, yeah.
watercolored, because we want to do the pencil thing. And because it's not wet, you don't need to, I'm going to do it horizontally. So here's my hills. And this is going to be much simpler because it doesn't look as good when you do it, you know, without watercolor, but you'll get the feel for it. So there's my sun. And here are my hills. Maybe I'll make these red hills like in the Southwest. Now I'm going to do the same thing that I did on the other one. I take my credit card and make my circle. And I continue to make, I'm pushing hard enough to bend the, John?
Yeah.
I'm pushing hard enough so that the credit card bends, you
Okay.
know, but it doesn't break the paper. I
Uh-huh.
don't know how to demonstrate it, you know, like that.
I see.
Now I don't know where I am because it's just white on white. There we go. Luckily, it's not that important. I mean, if your scratches don't fit the lines, it's okay. So I've gone out to my sides and I think I've got the whole thing covered. As I tip it on the light, I can, you know, you can sort of see it. So now I take the edge of my credit card and I follow my lines. I can't follow my own lines. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to make these the Great Southwest. And because it's the Great Southwest, I'm going to do like a tree shape right in the foreground. And by doing that, I'm just going to scratch into my paper and do, you know, a branch and a branch and a branch off the branch and a branch off the branch. And you sort of have to do it by faith. And we'll see how that works. I don't know how that'll work. Can I see it? I know you can't see it, but I can barely see it. So that being done, yeah, go ahead. Go. Don't start a question and then stop.
Oh, I said, can you use a key?
Sure, you can use anything that'll make a mark.
Okay.
Problem with metal things is they are more likely to hurt the paper.
Yeah. Okay.
Plastic is good, but you can use anything. I have demonstrated that. I have used all kinds of things. I've used this kind of thing, but then you need a really big piece of paper because these are really far apart. And I've used plastic cocktail forks, and I've used pickle forks, which really did the bad things to my paper. But I've still got them all in here because there may come a time when I just need something different and they're not doing anything else. Oh, I didn't use this at all. Let's put this, find my little lines and do my little shadow thing. And then I'm going to go right to pencil, and then you'll see sort of how the theory works. And this is without any watercolor. And I'm doing this Great Southwest, right? So I want some dark reds. Here's a dark red. And I want some, here's my blender. I want some sort of muddy yellows and some reddish browns. I think they even have a, oh, it's Tuscan red. It's not Tucson red. I thought maybe it was Tucson red, but it's not. It's Tuscan red, but it's the same kind of color. And maybe a purpley thing. This is on my hills. I'm starting with my hills. I usually start with the sky. I'm starting on my hills. And I'll see how far I get here. Okay. Let's start with this Tuscan red. Can you see the scratches beginning to come up?
Mm-hmm.
No.
John says no.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It works better when there's watercolor under it because the paper is softer and the scratches are therefore deeper.
So in other words, if the paper is wet, the scratches go deeper.
Right. And you don't want it sopping wet, but you want it a little bit wet. But you can't put pencil on wet paper. So now I'm going to go a little Crimson Lake. Yeah, that's good. And I'm scribbling right up into my Tuscan red with my Crimson Lake. And I'm also shaking the table, which is shaking the camera. So I do that. You also can erase colored pencil, sort of. You can't get back to white. But if I decided I didn't want Tuscan red, I wanted something else that was in the same family, I could get it light enough so that it would work. So now I'm going to go to, what is this? My yellow ochre, which is quite a bit different. Whoa. I'm not going to continue with yellow ochre because it just broke. I'm going to continue with something else. What? Oh, I like that yellow.
Do those pencils come in different hardnesses? You know what I mean?
Prismacolor pencils are probably the softest pencils available.
What's that called?
Prismacolor, it's the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And they also tend to be quite expensive. Like I said, I bought them when they were really cheap. Okay. And I do what I do with everything is I sample the pencil from dark to light.
Oh.
And I do that because the color of the paint on the pencil is no indicator. This is what? This is sand. It's not on this sheet. It's on one of the other sheets. Sand. So that looks like this. So if I'm not sure, this is what I was using and I wanted to keep using, but this is what I'm ending up with because my yellow ochre died. It's pretty close. Oh, and there's my tree, such as it is. So there's that. This is my purple. And I want to add some purples in the shadowy places in between my hills as shading. And this on the yellow, the purple will make it gray. We know that. I can get really tedious about gray. Okay. That's
So they do sort of mix together. One doesn't cover the other.
One doesn't cover the other unless you work really hard at it. And that's the point of having the candle or the blender pencil. I have a blender pencil. And I go through these. When I'm doing this kind of work, I go through blender pencils like nobody's business. Let's do some sky. We're still doing reds and yellows, huh? We're doing a sunset. Or I could do a blue sky. Do a couple of blues. And my favorite blue, you can tell it's my favorite blue because it is so short. See how short it is?
Mm-hmm.
Because I keep using it. So let's start with our dark purple up here. On the seas and the sky, she created them painting. I put the metallic paint on top of the colored pencil to make the stars and the moon. So that's a possibility too. You can't put regular watercolor on top of it, but you can put the metallic. So now I'm coming in with a lighter blue. And now I'm coming in with my light turquoise. And I'm going to go from that to a red, a dark red, an orange, and a medium yellow. I can't use my yellow ochre. And now my yellow. Oh, I should have erased those black lines. My pencil shows through. Can I still erase? So now you see me trying to erase colored pencil. And it sort of works and it sort of doesn't. No, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. My yellow isn't really going to cover it.
Would your finger do it?
No. And you notice when I go out here, it gets green. When I was a little kid, they said, you can't make green in the sky. And I said, it's sunset. And they said, you still can't make green in the sky. You know what? I went to the Caribbean with Johanna McCarthy, and they have what they call a green shift. It's like a half a minute when the sky goes all green. But of course, I can't go back and holler at those teachers. So this is a lighter yellow in the center. And then I'm going to leave the absolute center completely white. Now for the magic. Where'd my, there it is. It's right in front of me. So if you've got your candle, or if you've got a blender pencil, now you just go over the whole thing and it pushes the color, both blends the colors together, and it pushes the color into the paper. Now it is wise not to try and go from the dark blue, say, down to the yellow, bright yellow in the bottom, because it will blend it and it'll end up green. But you can do that at the borders, which is okay, because that's a good thing. And when you're doing the blending part, it's wise to go the way, the way you would with a brush stroke, to make it go with the contours of what it is you're doing. I forgot all about my tree. So you see how much more vibrant the colors get? Where's the green? Let me do something with this tree. Here's a green. Maybe I'll make it more like a bush. I don't like that at all. The tree is a total mistake. Okay, so now I'm going up to my sky. And I'm just going to do half so that you see the difference. How's the candle working, Louise?
Getting good work out, and I'm making a real mess. I'm going to have to go vacuuming.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the problem with candles. They shed.
Yeah, it's bringing up the color quite nicely.
Yeah, it works. It's just messy.
Yeah.
So that blending pencil, what is that made out of? Do you know?
It's wax. It's a harder wax than a candle, but you can use a candle. That's why I say you can use a candle, because it works. It's just messy and harder to handle. But I have used candles. But then, like Louise says, you have to vacuum. But you've got candle wax all over everything in the world.
Yes. And me as well.
Yes, and you as well. Now, if I didn't have these pencil lines, you would see how this yellow just pops at you. But of course, I do have the pencil lines. Okay. So that's the technique. By now, your other one would be dry. And you can begin to do your sky and stuff on that. And I'm not going to do it because I'm not sure what colors I want. And I'm using this light orange. But you can see the lines much better against the watercolor. That's too orange. I don't like that color. Instead, I'm going to do my sun. I'm going to do my sun because I'm not sure of my colors anymore. And where's my very light yellow? There it is. And you don't have to do everything all at once. You know, I could stop now. And where's my blender? And blend, which needs sharpening already. So I'm going to blend my orange. And I'm going to blend my sun in. And now the white, because I've used the iridescent paint underneath, you get a lot. You get the shininess, which is nice. And I note to self, erase the circle in the sun, the pencil circle. Okay, so you get the idea.
Mhm.
I expect to see the ones you painted next week.
Put pencil on top of watercolor, but not the other way around.
Right.
Oh,
Now you can put the
you've
iridescent
got
paint.
lines in your water and around the lake. You got all kinds of lines.
Yeah, I go crazy with lines.
I see that.
But you also
Okay.
see this is not subtle.
Yeah.
This is it's like for a children's book. I mean, that's what was
Mhm.
from.
Mhm.
Or you know, a modern thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be photographic. What I like is to do these little trees, which are not actually where the scratches are the branches, and then you just put green around them.
Oh,
But
That's
that's fun. And then the same thing in the grass, where I've got scratches, and then I just went with the pencil.
uh-huh.
Because I always like those little flicky things in the front,
Mm-hmm. I like to do that too.
because they give perspective.
Mhm.
This is a watercolor background. And when I talked about Starry, Starry Night,
Mhm.
these are going to be the stars. There's
Oh.
3 stars and then a tree. And what will happen, do I have a brown available? Is because I've done scratches in the tree for the bark, that the scratches become
Oh, lovely. Yep.
the thing in the bark. And that's fun. And the same thing in these trees down here. Remember I said where it's got, where the shape of the twigs and stuff, these are bushes, are scratches, and then you make the green. Can you see them? Or is that,
No, I can see that. It's great.
Yeah. so this was far too complex to teach, but that's the kind of thing you can do.
Have a good week, everyone. Keep
Have a
safe.
great week.
See you
Happy
next
New
week,
Year's. Yes,
everyone.
stay safe. Stay safe.
Thank
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.